Well,
hi,
guys, dolls, guys and dolls, friends, lovers, thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. Something
Hello.
I have not said for three weeks. How on earth did we take 2 weeks off? Well, those of you who know, if you know, you know, we had COVID vacation.
Yeah, I was just gonna say COVID vacation.
I had a
Real
bit of
fun.
I had a bit of a flu, a bit of a bug. And I got to say thank you. Thank you to those of you. I see you in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Let me just bring up the Facebook chat too. We're glad you are here. God, I missed you guys. We
just don't feel ourselves when we don't check in with you, and it's part of our routine now to be on here for you every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And so
We just don't feel ourselves when we
don't. Just like I was saying there.
I don't know what button I pushed that made this decide to get noisy. Just trying to refresh a page.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's done. COVID is done. The rock and roll picnic was, it was canceled, but some of you got to see the video clips of what happened instead. And now here we are on the first day of
Fall.
Autumn.
Autumnal equinox.
What are your plans for after the fall?
I'm going to, I'm going to reverse it on it, and I'm going to call it rise.
The rise.
Yeah.
The rise. I love the memes. I love the jokes that say, what are your plans for after the fall? And our prepper friends who are preparing for the fall of civilization, the collapse of the West, have a different answer than the rest of us. And that's a good thing. I'm going to start with On This Date. I'm going to jump right into it here. First, I got to say hi to the folks in the chat. And cue the bass. That's right. I went back to the old theme. Amy, you said you like the old theme better than the new one. I might go back and forth on that a little bit.
I haven't really discovered how... I think you ran it through a filter or something.
I did.
But I think I like the original better. Let us know if you like the original bass line. I think it's just tweaked a little bit right now, but... I liked it a little bit more raw, you could, more analog, less
what?
digital.
I'm going to play just the opening. And in case anybody has not noticed, and you tell me major key or minor key, because the original is in a minor key, not usually my thing. So the musicians out there will all be like, that's an E minor pentatonic. It's not really anything. Here's the updated version. And you can hear that the AI engine has sort of substituted a bit and made it into G major. A little more optimistic, I thought. But a little wimpier, too, so I don't know.
It kind of sounds a little compressed, like it's kind of cut.
That's true. That opening note got
angular.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Well, what I really need to do is what I've promised to do for ages, which is re-record it with actual instruments, which is how it was created in the first place.
Do you like old Coke or new Coke?
Oh, I like old Coke because it's old, and so am I. Great line from the wedding singer there.
Yeah, Christopher asks, is there a flange on that? Maybe on the new one? It sounds kind of flangey.
It's got a bit of, it was not intentional. This was using the, what is the website for that? Udio. Like studio, but with the ST taken away. And it's just an AI engine that makes up music for you, but you can also feed it music and tell it to change it. And so I fed it our opening theme. Either way, today is September 22nd, 2024, the 266th day. 266. Why is that a magic number? Because it's a leap year. 365, this year, 366 days in a year. That means you've got exactly 100 days left in 2024 to make this your best year yet. We're going to give you a few tips for how to make sure that happens if it hasn't already happened. Christmas is in just 94 days. Thanksgiving in 67 days. Halloween in 39 days. Just a hair over a month. Wait a minute. Wasn't it still summer? Yes. Happy autumnal equinox, you good people.
Wasn't it already Halloween?
Well, for some of
Yes.
you, for some of you, those of you who are in Amy's Halloween Facebook group, you're already there. Totally.
Yeah, if you don't know about my Halloween Facebook group, let me know.
Yes.
And
Amy
I'll
will
get that
want you to
information.
join up.
It's called, it's just on Facebook. It's called Halloween Spookiness and something. Let's see.
You get so used to it, you forget.
Halloween Spookiness and Goodie Exchange. Now, this actually started during COVID, and so we were sending each other packages of Halloween goodies. So I did that for a few people, and a few people sent that to me, and it was really a lot of fun. If you want to send a package to me, let me know, and I'll send a package to you. But other than that, post memes.
Very cool. Yeah, we should do a goodie exchange again. That was great fun.
It was.
Very cool. So yes, today is 100 days until the end of the year. And on this date, a couple quick ones. First of all, it is the fall equinox, the autumnal equinox, in which the day and the night are equally long, presumably 12 hours apiece. And that means after today, if you're in the northern hemisphere, your days are going to get shorter. But you know what? The fall, well, we're in Motown. And in Michigan, United States, the fall is a great time. It's when the weather gets right. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It is perfect. Bike riding, walks in the park, anything that you want to do outside. If you are in a similar situation, I hope you are looking forward to this season that starts today. It's interesting. Meteorological fall begins on September 1st and concludes at the end of November. But the astronomical fall, days of equal length right down to the very shortest day of the year, this runs through December 21st. And what that means is that the season runs almost all the way through the holidays. In other words, we're already there. It is already the holiday season.
Merry
if you ask
Christmas.
Me. A lot of
Merry
people would say
Christmas.
October 1st because the last 3 months of the year, but after Christmas, that's a whole different animal. So it's the holidays. Happy holidays. And speaking of the happy holidays and Christmas carols and songs,
Ella Fitzgerald has the best Christmas song with, I'm going to look it up now. It's basically celebrating Christmas all year through. And anyway, there you are.
What I was going to say is, speaking of music, last night we saw a musical, Guys and Dolls.
Yes.
That was great fun. Mark and Kayla, friends of the show, friends of Glow, friends of ours, starring roles in the show. Mark was nicely this time. Last time we saw him in this play a few years back, he was Nathan Detroit. Kayla played 4 or 5 different roles, super cool, and choreographed the whole thing. Oh, wait, you're wondering, what's that money doing on top? I won the 50-50 raffle. Can you believe it? Always enter raffles, especially if they're for a good cause. The neat thing about 50-50 raffles, they do this at the Redford Theater all the time. Half the money goes to support the organization, which is cool because community theater, they need all the money they can get. The other half goes to whoever wins. This is my second time winning a 50-50 raffle, which tells you how much money I've thrown away on raffle. I mean, how much money I've invested in raffle tickets. Winning just added to the fun of that. Shout out to Mark. Shout out to Kayla. You guys were great. It was a fun production. It's a fun show.
Great. Yeah, they were very, very good. Really loved it. Yeah, the Ella Fitzgerald song is called The Secret of Christmas. And it's a great song all year long.
Yes. So besides the equinox, today we have Lincoln issues the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation in 1862. Freedom. Abraham Lincoln says, no slaves. Everybody's free. You can't do that anymore. A lot of people thought that the war was started, and Lincoln himself framed it in this way in a lot of his speeches, that the war was not started to end slavery, that the war was about restoring the Union. Well, why was he trying to restore the Union? Because the South wanted slavery and they broke away. No, it's very clear what the Civil War was about. And in that regard, I've got to say, and I don't have a picture to post because it just came in before the show. Matt Chapman, one of the best maybe one of the best drummers in Southeast Michigan. Certainly our favorite drummer in Southeast Michigan.
He is our favorite drummer.
Just posted right before the show, so I didn't have time to put it in the show notes here. Rick Mayall's 5 Rules for Life.
Aww.
Some of you may not know who Rick Mayall is. He is a British was a British comedian. We lost him all too soon. But if you are familiar with the comedy, it was Kids in the Hall, was it?
No, The Young Ones.
The Young Ones. I always get those two mixed up.
Yep.
Rick Mayall in The Young Ones, of course, I know him from the film Drop Dead Fred. All-around good guy, kind of guy you wish you had met. I certainly wish I had met him.
Yeah.
And he had 5 rules of life that were posted by Matt Chapman, again, one of our favorite drummers in Southeast Michigan. All men are equal. Therefore, no one can ever be your genuine superior.
Wise words.
You know, some people are better at things than others. Some people are more moral than others, and you could claim they are better men than others. But at root, at least in our potential, you are the center of the universe. You must be as good as any other guy, any other gal out there.
That's really nice.
Rick Mayall's rule number 2, it is your future. It is yours to create. How many times have we said that? You are the star of this show, but you are also the screenwriter and the director. And you got to come up with the money because you're also the producer. Number 3, change is a constant of life, so you must never lose your wisdom. Well, that's why you hang out with us every Sunday. Number 4, I'll hold number 4 off. Number 5, love is the answer. Love is the answer. That sounds pretty woo, but what do we say here? Values are primary.
Yeah.
You are here to live a life and not just to not die or not just to fight evil. No, you are here to get out there and get values, and that is... Well, that means love is the answer. I'm good with that, Rick Mayall.
And you know, I should say, just jump in here real quick, is that not only is love is the answer in terms of what you love, but you have to remember that what you love is not arbitrary. It's not subjective.
Right.
If you like something other than, one particular career over another, pick the one that you like. Why? Because you like it. Now, you can figure out why you like it and everything like that, but the fact that you like it is an objective... solid fact of reality.
That's right.
And so take your values seriously in that way.
Take your values seriously.
Yep.
And finally, and I skipped this one, going back, if you want to live a full and complete human life, says Rick Mayall, you have to be free. Freedom is paramount. Well, Rick Mayall understands that. Abraham Lincoln understood that when he abolished slavery with the Emancipation Proclamation. Again, the preliminary, the early version was released on this date, September 22nd, 1862. Some of you will know the official version, final version, went into effect on the 1st of the year, 1863. Freedom. It's why we fight for freedom. It's not just so we can have whatever we want and do whatever we want. Well, in a way, that's what it is.
And you shouldn't stop yourself from doing what you want to do because you think, life is hell.
Life is hell. Well, that is so true, and we are ready to make that case.
Yeah, life is not hell.
Life is. Oh my God, life is. Well, what is life?
What is life?
Yeah, darn right. On this date, 1791, Michael Faraday was born. It's his birthday, September 22nd, 1791. I am still trying to understand what Michael Faraday understood. What is electromagnetism? Magnetism is so weird. I understand electricity. I understand nuclear forces. I understand them at the atomic level. I don't understand gravity. And I don't understand magnetism. They just seem like action at a distance. I am waiting for the philosophers to straighten that one out.
I don't know. It seems like it's like Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and like Faraday is sort of like the headmaster.
Yeah. So
All
maybe
magical things.
Paul's in the chat, so he knows. Electromagnetism is very, very simple, and the formula that Faraday and Gauss came up with, we can manipulate magnetism in the finest details. We put these sensors in our cell phones that are microscopic. Gyroscopes, it's just amazing. But those basic forces, again, electricity I understand because electricity travels through a medium. Anything that travels in waves travels through a medium. Gravity and magnetism seem to be instantaneous. They seem to be action at a distance. So, shout out to everybody who's dealing with that. Happy birthday, Michael Faraday. Last thing I want to say about this day, 2 of them. It's National Ice Cream Cone Day. When I was a kid, we were taught the ice cream cone was invented by some guy at one of the world's fairs because he was serving ice cream and he ran out of spoons or ran out of dishes, and he had the means, or somebody near him had the means to make waffle cones. It turns out the ice cream cone actually predates the World Fair in question. It goes way back. So the only question I have for you in the chat: sugar cone, cake cone, or waffle cone? What's your preference for ice cream cones? Do you like the cake cones that a lot of us grew up with? Those kind of slightly tasty but kind of empty flavored cones.
You know what cake cones taste like?
What do cake cones taste like?
They taste like communion wafers.
They have that similar texture, substance.
But I love them.
A little more flavor, but not much.
I love them because the sweetness, or there's no taste to them, so it doesn't really conflict with any of what you're tasting in the ice cream. And I also love the physics of a cake cone, because basically you've got a scoop and it goes down into the little slots up on top. And so you can actually carefully peel those back, and then you can just kind of get the little melty ice cream out of each and every one of those. And then you break it down, down to the halfway mark, and then you scoop out the rest, and then you basically bite off the little wall till you get to the very foundation of the cake cone, which has I think it's got like about 8 or 10 different little compartments for the melty ice cream to go into, and then you can take each one of the compartments, and you can take them out surgically, and you can eat them very, very slowly, and it's just really the best experience in life.
It is true that little crosshatch part of the bottom of a cake cone is pretty damn good.
It's really good.
Yeah, there's somehow the combination of the cone and the ice cream really works. I'm still a sugar cone guy. I don't know. Waffle cone is too much cone, too much sweetness. Sugar cone to me just gets it just right.
It's too sugar, and see, the thing is that with the sugar cone, you always have a little bit of anxiety, or at least I do, with it leaking out at the very bottom, at the very tip of it.
There may be some confusion about what they're called, because Christopher Smith says cake cone. What is this witchcraft? He might know what we're referring to, or he might not. I don't know if everywhere in the world they use the same words for that basic flavorless cone that ice cream is often served in. Around here, it's called a cake cone.
I'm only seeing cake cone.
Yeah, cake. Or he might just be criticizing anybody who would prefer that. But hey, if you do, you're picking on Amy here. And a cake cone has its...
Or some people just call it the regular cone.
Regular cone. Do you want a regular cone, a sugar cone, or a waffle cone?
Yes.
Do you want a normal, boring, like everybody grew up with, because sugar cones are more expensive? Or maybe...
Did you know that you can make cake cones into actual cake cones? You can actually...
Now that's true.
You can put cake batter into the cake cone. You can put that into the oven and bake little cupcakes into little cake cones.
Sure.
And then you can frost it up on top and make it look like a real ice cream cone with sprinkles. And it's just adorable.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
If you do that, don't use the ones with the little paper thing on the bottom. But no, we've done cake cone, and that's a fun way to send cupcakes to school if you're baking for the kids and stuff like that. Yes, absolutely, and we've got a mix here. We do have a mix in the chat.
Oh, by the way, the old Coke, we were not referring to the one that came out in the late 1800s that it included things like cocaine in it. No, we're talking about the 80s. Not the 1880s, the 1980s.
Yes. Absolutely, and that's it. Besides ice cream cone day, it is white chocolate day.
White chocolate.
And I'm only going to say that to stir the pot, because we talked about white chocolate before. I love a good white chocolate. Lind, for example, makes a good white chocolate. And so somebody in the chat is going to say, I'm going to beat you to it. Somebody in the chat is going to say, white chocolate's not chocolate. So you go right ahead and say that. The only argument in your favor is that the FDA here in the United States has officially recognized white chocolate as being chocolate back in 2004.
Not that they know anything about anything.
Well, that's why I say that's an argument in your favor, because the Federal Death Administration, the Food and Drug Administration, is not a highly respected organization in our circle. We'll put it that way. But I do love me a good white, whatever you want to call it.
Well, it has cocoa butter in it, I believe.
Yes, it has cocoa butter.
Yeah,
which in theory means it has elements of cocoa beans.
Yeah, it's derivative of chocolate, but it is chocolate because it's derivative of chocolate.
And I'm okay
and it's
with that.
Creamy and delicious.
What more do you want?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me jump right to what are we promoting or what have we been listening to this week?
I don't know. You know what I'm doing? You know what I've been doing, guys? This is what I've been doing. So I've got these paint by sticker books.
Sticker books.
Yeah, I am absolutely in love with these. Sticker by number. And this is the Halloween version. Sticker by number Halloween version. And I've already done the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown version of this. And so I've got this and I've got another book. But that has inspired me to buy a color by numbers with actual paint and paintbrushes and a 16 by 20 inch canvas, with a little, with everything outlined and everything. So anyway, that's the next thing I'm going to be doing. But I've been really obsessed with taking minute, tiny pixels of space and basically taking the sticker and sticking them in perfectly within the lines and just being absolutely perfect about it. I just absolutely love doing this. If you love to be perfect with your pixels, just let me know in the chat. We're kindreds.
There's talk about is Shgon Gross, Christopher Smith says. They're talking about cones and cakes and cake.
Oh, I thought he was talking about white chocolate.
Oh.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, he is. Son of a gun. How can you say that? But without, I don't know, should I get into it? I do want to say Paul points out the greater the value, the harder the work. Gooey, sticky fingers with sugar cones, but they taste so much better. The trick with sugar cones is you've got to get the ones that either come with paper wrapped around the bottom of them and hopefully sealed well at the bottom so there's no dripping out that potential little hole at the bottom. A good sugar cone won't have that. But also just have a napkin handy.
Yeah.
But depends on the
Napkins
context.
Are great.
On the other hand, if you're somewhere where you have access to soap and water, you're just at home, don't worry about it. You're right.
Did you know that if you really want to concretize what virtue is, the napkin is the most fundamental concretization of virtue, of human virtue. So quote me on that, please. I love napkins.
That's a great point. Today we are celebrating the fall.
Mm-hmm.
The fall of America, the fall in America, the fall in the Northern Hemisphere, the fall in the UK and Europe, wherever you happen to be.
Which I'm going to call the rise.
And I say, all praise to Willis Carrier, the inventor of air conditioning. But it's going to be great to let the air conditioning go, open the windows, get back to sweater weather. Those pleasant afternoon walks. And building a fire.
Yes.
If you've got a fire pit or if you've got somewhere on your property you want to set things on fire. But assuming you've got somewhere you can build a fire in your yard, get out the marshmallows, get out the hot dogs.
Marshmallows and making s'mores. I have, by the way, if you want to ask me in the chat how I make a s'more, let me know. I'll tell you.
If you're curious, Amy's method for s'mores. And this is when the hobbies change. This is when the activities change.
Yep.
And that's a good thing because the fall, the autumn is such a great time for getting caught up. And I'm coming out of COVID having been knocked out for 2 weeks. So I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that need to get caught up on, career and personal development and family activities and friendships and special events and sports and fitness and arts and entertainment. And so many of those elements are just ends in themselves that the fall is such a good time for.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is, fall is really not fall, it's autumn. And autumn really is not autumn, it's harvest. At least if you go back to the agrarian times. So the idea here is that you work your butt off all year, which I've done, by the way. I've worked a great deal. I've done a lot of really amazing things this year. I've really put it out there. I pushed the envelope. I really, really pushed myself. And I'm really happy with my performance. And I'm looking forward to the next few months as a reward.
Yes.
as a reward. So this is harvest. So I get to reap what I sow, and I sowed a lot of wonderful things, and I get to experience them as my reward. So I don't think of it as fall, as in falling. That's just for the leaves.
The reason I can't resist the fall versus autumn is it's election year in America. And it's not just election year. It's not just that.
Got to bring that up.
It's not just that. The pagers are exploding. Walkie-talkies are exploding. There is war going on in the Middle East. And it's horrible war, but it's in some ways kind of a really cool war. But there's also war going on in the Ukraine, and this is all going to be affected by the American election.
Ugh.
Now, when we did our post-debate coverage for that first debate, the Biden-Trump debate, and I said the same thing about the Harris and Trump debate. I should say Kamala and Trump debate, because people won't know who I'm talking about. Yeah, the next president's last name will be Harris. It won't just be eponymous Kamala. Although, I don't know, maybe she should do that. She could do like Madonna or Iman, or, these people who just go by their one name.
Then she could convert herself into a symbol like Prince.
Yeah. The neat thing about President Harris is that she's going to go away and not matter much. Which is also what I'm counting on, just in case the game show guy gets elected again. That Trump will do some things, but no worse than he did the first time around. It's what I'm counting on. I'm counting on Harris being as ineffectual as she was as a Veep, as a Preezy. And I guess that doesn't really apply to her, because she's just not funky enough. Obama was a Preezy. I don't know if Kamala can be a Preezy.
She's a princessy.
Yeah, she's a brat. But she didn't destroy the country as Biden's Veep. Biden didn't destroy the country. I don't even think Trump can destroy the country, even if he wants to, and some would argue that he does. Or rather, he wants to reshape it in the manner of, Trump manner. And, J.D. Vance has his ideas, too, about what he wants to do. Presumably, he wants a country where nobody eats other people's pets. Listen, the current situation we're in the United States, and this is affecting the rest of the world, inflation, flat markets, I don't know, we just broke 42,000 on the Dow Jones. But improving, but still very, very slowly improving markets. Prices are going up to match the market, so is it really that much better? The last few years of inflation and malaise can be explained by
Satan.
I wish there was one guy, even the horns guy, or gal.
Sorry.
No, it's a good guess. Tell us in the chat, what is responsible right now for the state of the world, especially economics, production, the challenges that ordinary people are going through? Inflation has been outrageous, and it's slowing down, but it's never going to reverse. So the higher prices we're paying right now, even as inflation dwindles, they're not, the low prices are not coming back. Job situations are good for people looking for jobs, but they're kind of static for people staying in them. And at the same time, that very low unemployment means it's very hard to find work. So a lot of restaurants, for example, are still closing early. We're saying, man, where are the 24-hour restaurants? Where are the 24-hour retail, the supermarkets, Walmarts? And a big part of it is
the ice cream drive-thrus.
Yeah, the big part of it is because unemployment is so low. Nobody wants to work.
Yeah.
Biggest reason for all of that. Greg in the chat, who incidentally posted another thing that happened on this date earlier. Greg's been very good with the on this dates. If you're not already friends with him or following on Facebook, you need to do that. But he says, my money is on philosophy. That's a really good guess. Christopher Smith says, irrationality. That's a little closer to the answer, but for once I'm going to say no, the answer is not to be found in philosophy. Or rather, the immediate answer is not to be found in philosophy. Philosophy is always going to explain whatever it was, what people chose to do about it, but no. I'll tell you what killed the economy. I'll tell you what's got everybody complaining about prices. And it's relevant because it is one of the things deciding the current elections, including the one coming up in the United States. It's the same damn thing that took me out for the last 3 weeks.
Oh. God damn COVID.
And that's the good news. What the hell do you mean that's the good news? Well, it's one and done. I mean, people are still catching COVID, and it's still having an impact. What COVID, and especially, and Greg is right, philosophy, what we chose to do about COVID, I shouldn't even say we, what our leaders chose to do about COVID. And there were two very related things that got us exactly where we are right now, today, in every way that counts. And those two things that our quote-unquote leaders did were, one, shut everything down, force people not to work, force businesses to close the doors, in some ways force people to stay at home, but that's not even the big part of it. Shut everything down, and then, right when less is being produced, let's say nobody's actually making any money, give away a ton of money. Print it out of thin air.
Trump stash.
If you think those two things aren't enough to explain everything, and I mean everything we're going through right now, you got to look at the numbers. You've got to look at the trillions of dollars that were made up out of thin air and then consider the simple economics of what that does to every existing dollar of capital out there. If you water down every single existing dollar of capital out there, and this applies around the world because it hits every currency and all of the exchanges, tell everybody to stop working for 6 months, in some cases a year, in some cases several years, and water down all of the capital in the world through the stroke of a pen or a computer printout. Because remember, Donald Trump said, you can't send out those checks. They don't have my name on them. They need to redo the whole process. So it would say, this money comes to you from the producers of The Apprentice.
Do y'all remember that? That was the trippiest goddamn thing I've ever heard in my entire life. We've got to reissue the checks because they forgot to print my name on it.
Now,
Yeah.
Now, Greg is right. The reason why we did the worst things in the world, irresponsible to the worst virus we'd seen in a long time, was precisely because of what people believe, their philosophy, political philosophy in particular, but much more than that.
Yeah.
But the worst of that is over. The economy is improving. The market hitting 42,000 this week is not arbitrary. There are actual reasons for that going on. There is manufacturing going on in the United States, despite what some of our politicians want to tell us. There is growth going on. There are improvements going on. The wars that are going on, well, there have always been wars going on. When I see a war, I think, well, it's a good thing there are 2,000 other countries that aren't at war right now. This is not in any way intended to diminish the importance or the tragedy of the things going on around the world, particularly in Israel and the Ukraine. But they also tell us, by contrast, where we are at in the rest of the world. This autumn is a time to celebrate, and we sure as hell are going to be doing that here.
Yeah.
The people are going to be concerned about the election and politics, and with better reason, things going on around the world. And I want you to do that. But I also want you to think about the happiest guy or gal that you know. It's probably the kind of person who isn't paying a lot of attention to the worst things going on. They're giving it some. They probably contribute money, donate money to support organizations that are helping with things. They're probably voting for the people they think will have the most impact, the best impact on the things going on. But think about the happiest people you know. And if you catch yourself thinking, as some of us sometimes do, if they're that happy, they must not be taking what's going on seriously. You may be right about that, although I'd ask you to check that premise. But those of you who are paying attention to what's going on out there, in other words, those of you who do know the right answers to the big questions of life, you have the owner's manual of life. The objectivists know what I'm talking about. Should you be happier than those people? Well, there'd be something wrong with being as happy as those ignorant and naive people, right? Wait a minute, isn't that backwards?
Yes.
For all that, we've got to decide how much time and money to invest, and we do, in supporting organizations that are fighting for the right things, in sharing the right information out there ourselves, in investing in security, in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in organizations that fight things that need to be fought. For all of that, okay, that's part of the story. What about the rest of it? The rest of the story is what those happy people, that happiest guy, the happiest gal you know out there. We see this a lot in people who are really into philosophy, because some of you have told me, and of course we're familiar with this too, yeah, I tried to get my mother, father, family, my uncle into, say, objectivism, and he just laughs. He doesn't think philosophy is important. Well, half the time those people are miserable. But occasionally, what's really going on there is they're very busy living their lives. They believe enough true things that they have at least gotten an education, gotten a decent job, raised a family, budget certain numbers of vacations every year, have things they like to do every evening, have sports that they're interested in, have arts and entertainment that they like to find. They do things. They live their lives. Listen, ignorance is not bliss. So obviously these people aren't completely ignorant. But if they can be happy, then those of us who are a little more aware or a little better informed or who hold more consistent ideas, we should be happier than whatever they're able to achieve. And I'm guessing some of you are saying right now, well, I am. What is Robert talking about? But there's a few of us who occasionally catch ourselves thinking that the normal people, normies, the people out there who are living well, think of relatively wealthy individuals. I'm not talking about Musk. I'm not getting into Bill Gates. Just reasonably wealthy people you know, live in a nice neighborhood. They're not cloistered in some empty box of a house, but they're doing things. They're involved with the arts. They're supporting music. And they've got friendships and family activities and sports and fitness and arts and entertainment, and they haven't got time for the fall. I mean, they have time for the autumn. They haven't got time for the fall of civilization. They're too busy enjoying the fall weather. And you should be too. And that's damn well what I'm going to try to do now that I have beaten the dreaded virus.
Yeah. You know what these happy people are doing?
What are they doing?
They're using napkins.
They're using napkins, that amazing invention. I don't know, at some point the environmentalists they probably already have tried saying, you shouldn't use disposable napkins. You should carry a handkerchief in your jacket pocket and use that all day like people used to do. You laugh, but remember, these are the same people who fought disposable diapers.
Yeah.
They lost in that, incidentally. I was surprised a couple years ago.
Right.
I wasn't buying diapers, but I happened to go down that aisle. And now they have the pull-up pants diapers for kids who you're trying to get them to think of diapers and pants and make that trend. But they've got them in all different sizes and shapes and styles, and the pants ones and the natural tie ones. And so you're right. Napkins are one of the greatest things, and nobody's going to get rid of the disposable napkin because they certainly weren't able to get rid of disposable diapers.
Very true. Oh,
either way, if they pull that stuff, get out there and find yourself some napkins anyway.
You know what they're also doing? They're making s'mores around a beautiful fire pit. And actually, we do have
You talking about the environmentalists or the happy people out there?
No, the happy people.
Happy people are making s'mores. True that.
So Audrey on the Facebook chat, she is curious to know.
Yes.
How I make my s'mores. The science of creating a good s'more that is toasty, melty, delicious, not too hot, not too undercooked, not too non-fluffy.
So you don't just take a toasted marshmallow, throw down a cold piece of chocolate, cram it together?
No.
Okay.
Maybe, maybe some happy, normal people out there, they might be, but I honestly think that there are probably more people out there who are delving into the science of making s'mores, like myself, among my other interests and hobbies in life. So what you do is you have to have a good steady hand. You're over a fire pit. You've got one of those telescoping, elongated, 2-prong fork things. And so what you do is you start out with 2 marshmallows. Well, first of all, you prep. You do a little prep. You've got your 2 marshmallows. You've got your basically 2. So you've got you've got the 1 horizontal long graham cracker. You basically get that, put that in half, crunch that in half. So then you have basically, because you've got like 4 little sections of 1 graham cracker. So you have 2 double sections, you could say. That's the top and the bottom. And then you've got about 2 or 3 of the horizontal sections of a chocolate bar, depending on how chocolatey you want it. I usually put 2 of them on, maybe 3. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your marshmallow. Your marshmallow is nice and toasty, is as well done as you want. I do like to have them almost falling off of the 2-prong forks. I think Robert is writing and taking notes right now. Good for you. And so you got that marshmallow. I usually burn mine to black, and it's extreme. It's so melty that it's basically almost falling off into the fire, but not quite. So you put those on the 1 half of the graham cracker, and then you take the other half of the graham cracker. You've got the 2 prongs. They're going to be sticky with the marshmallow, which is going to be to your advantage. You're going to take the other half of the graham cracker, the top part or whatever, and put that onto the 2 prongs. And very carefully, you're going to be putting the chocolate on the graham cracker, so it's balancing on the 2 prongs. You have to have a good steady hand to do this. You put that over the fire. You're going to toast up your half of your graham cracker, and you're going to melt the chocolate. So you got to be careful with that one. That takes a little practice. And then after the chocolate is melty and the graham cracker is toasty, but not burnt, of course, you put them together, and then it's going to squeeze out and be extremely messy, but it's going to be the best thing you've ever tasted in your life. And that's how you create the best s'more.
Wow.
Very serious stuff here, guys, on this on this podcast.
The question sometimes comes up. How can you tell a real objectivist or just a real philosopher? And the answer is, you can tell by the fact that they take their values seriously.
Yes.
That's about as serious a treatment of s'mores as I have ever heard.
Jim says, I'm the world's first s'morologist. Thank you, Jim. I'll put that on my resume. Coming out of COVID, and for folks who know, I throw an annual rock and roll picnic. Having to cancel the annual picnic after spending a lot of time and a lot of energy and having a lot of good people make arrangements to be there. And the money too. It was like, it's like we have 2 hearts in our body, or 3 of them, because we had to rip out the first 2 out of our chests and throw them on the ground. And thankfully we have a 3rd heart to work with, but that's what was going on with that. It was the worst.
And having gotten through all of that, and coming back to, it teaches you to never take things for granted. It teaches you to appreciate your values. It teaches you that values are primary, that you are here to live for your values. And again, coming out of it into the context of everything going on in the world today, all the challenges, all of the things that we're fighting and denouncing and spending money and time and energy to work against. And then Amy starts doing stickers by numbers, sticker books, and making s'mores. And it just reminds you that life is an end in your life. Here, I'll point my finger at you. Your life is an end in itself. And at the same time, that's just not a license to do whatever you feel. It is an encouragement to do what really matters. You know, I'm going to keep following the politics of the day. I'm going to keep in touch with the economics of the day. There are certain things I need to do to protect myself against the things that are going to happen because of that. And I'm going to keep in touch with you. Folks, you know me on the forums, you know me on the socials, you know me on channels like the ARC UK. I'm going to keep following things that are going on because I need to know. I need to not be surprised by what happens. But all of that, none of it is going to destroy me. None of it is going to destroy you. And so it should not be that demoralizing. It should not distract you from your values. They haven't destroyed us yet. Whether you want to talk about what's going on around the world or here, Donald Trump had 4 years. He didn't pull it off. Give him 4 more and he's not going to pull it off again. Kamala Harris has been vice president for 3.5 years, and certainly her boss hasn't been doing much running of things, so if anybody had any power, she did. Either way, she's just not that radical. She's a milquetoast. She's another Biden. I know some of her old statements were pretty radical, and there are things that we got to fight with her, but she's just not bad enough to be talking about end of the world, end of America, end of optimism. No. Most things are good. We went to a play last night. There was a concert we could have gone to instead. There were 1,000 things we could have done instead. There are 1,000 things you could do instead, every day, every night. There is one thing that is, or would be, unforgivable.
Murder.
Okay, 2 things. Well, they're almost the same. The one thing that I want you to absolutely fight, that I want you to refuse, that I want you to reject, is taking your own life for granted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's close to murder. That's basically depriving yourself of a life.
While I was recovering from the bug, the flu, the virus, the COVID, even after I started testing negative, the beginning of this week, Monday, Tuesday, I just didn't have the energy. But that's no excuse, and that is not an excuse I should allow myself. First of all, I am an expert in state management. I can give myself energy anytime I need it. But I didn't have the energy to decide to give myself the energy. Have you ever had that sense that I know if I got out of bed right now and stretched, took a few deep breaths, had a glass of water or a cup of coffee, I would be ready to go. But I don't feel like feeling like it. It's sort of a meta level there. Meta, what? I don't even know what meta is short for in that context. So my Post-it note this week, my note to myself, my reminder, my self-reflection is going to be precisely to get to that meta level and remind myself, not just, you can't afford to waste a day. Can't afford to not feel like not wasting a day. So my Post-it note for the day is a long one. It says, treat your days. And here I'm talking about you. Well, I'm talking about me too, because this is my note to myself. Treat your days as if Each one is irreplaceable. Imagine that. Imagine if your days were irreplaceable. Imagine if any day that you waste is one more that you've lost. Well, of course, that's a little cheeky because it isn't as if. It is. Every day in your life is irreplaceable. You are amazing. You are awesome. You are the star of this show. And you may have 100,000 days in your life, but whatever that number is, it's finite. Any day that you waste is one more that you've lost. Any day that you use well builds your future, puts gold in that bank account of yours. Sometimes it's metaphorical or emotional gold. Sometimes it's real gold, dollars and cents, pounds and shekels, whatever it is. Treat your days as if each day is irreplaceable. This note, incidentally, I'm going to put up where I see it first thing in the morning, because that's the attitude you want to start your day with. Oh my God. This isn't just a day in somebody's life. This is a day in my life, in your life. So I'm coming out of COVID. Amy and I are back. Mm-hmm. And we are slowly but surely rising to the occasion. It's why I'm grateful for all of you in the chat and all of you who will be listening to this afterwards. Available on all of the podcasting platforms. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the one that begins with an S. What is it? Spotify Podcasts. But especially live here on YouTube and on Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us. A little woo today? I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
But it is the fall, and I am determined to start the autumn. I like autumn better than fall anyway. Great thing about autumn, especially if you're using it in computer work, is autumn, spring, summer, winter. They all have 6 letters. It looks real nice that way, especially in a mono-spaced font. Call it the fall. Call it the autumn. Either way, summer is behind us. Warm weather in southeast Michigan is still here, so summer gone doesn't mean the fun isn't gone. It just means boom Halloween, boom Thanksgiving, boom Christmas. Best part of the year begins today.
Don't call it the fall, call it the rise, or you can call it the reward.
Yes, absolutely. Folks, thank you for joining us. I'll wrap it up by saying, if you have any suggestions for future episodes of 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, leave them in the chat or in the 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir Facebook group. Mm-hmm. If you need more information, go to robertnasir.com, where you will find a link to both our Patreon and PayPal accounts. That's right, if you want to support the show financially or just give us a cup of coffee, a tip, whatever you want to do in that regard. Click those links, robertnasir.com. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Make those funny noises. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts to those of you who already... I know, we need to get like an electric fan that you run in front of the face. And,
you know, if you haven't done that in a while, yeah, put your head near a fan and start talking, and it's really fun.
And I know the younger folks out there say, it's 2024. I can do all that with my phone. I've got a music studio on my phone that can do all that fun stuff. But, you know, practical effects, what they call non-computer effects, real life special effects, more fun than you can shake a stick at because you're actually shaking a stick. So that's fun. Folks, thank you. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to wrap it up here, which makes us a short show. Look at this. We're going to wrap up before the top of the hour. Again, we'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to you next Sunday. We're back on track. We're not sick anymore. I've got a lot to say. We're going to say it starting, well, we started today, more next week. And that's it. Until then, we just want to wish you all the love. What about the success? What about all of the riches that you so richly deserve? Well, all of that too, but I'm jumping right to the love because Lex Friedman has been ending his podcasts by saying, I love you all. And I kind of get it. I know that feeling, but Lex, there are some people out there you shouldn't love. So I'm going to say, I love you all except that one guy. You know who you are. But seriously, thank you. Thank you for being here. And we, Amy, we
yes,
wish
Robert.
you love. Whoop. There we go.